Hey guys, did you see what the billionaires are up to these days? Ohio man plans to take a two-person submersible to Titanic depths to show the industry is safe after the OceanGate tragedy. Cue the jokes! So first of all, I was surprised to notice that it's been less than a year since those 5 billionaires killed themselves in the submersible OceanGate implosion, which I covered at the time to debunk the idea that this happened due to diversity. In case you missed it, the quick recap is that Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, was wildly incompetent and refused to take basic safety precautions, leading directly to this tragedy. And now another billionaire is going back there to do the same thing. Ah, the folly of man, the ego, the obvious failure to learn even the most obvious lessons of history. Can't wait for this guy to die too. Okay, look, this is going to come as a surprise to some of you who may be aware of my hatred of billionaires and my love of Schadenfreude. But in fact, in this video, I'm sad to report I will be defending the billionaire. That's right. This new mission to the wreck of the Titanic is good, actually, and we should support it. Excuse me, I just need to go take a quick shower. As I mentioned in that previous video, everyone in deep sea exploration was critical of OceanGate. Industry experts sent letters begging Stockton Rush to stop offering rides on this little death machine, literally telling him he was going to get someone killed. He ignored those experts and the inevitable happened. One of those experts was a man by the name of Patrick Leahy, co-founder of Triton Submarines, who called OceanGate's submersible a monstrosity and begged his friend Paul-Henri Nargeolet not to go aboard. Nargeolet ignored him and was killed in the implosion. Triton builds bespoke submersibles for billionaires who want to explore the ocean's depths. So they are the company that this new news is about. Larry Connor is a real estate magnate and adventurer who has been to the space station. He contacted Triton and asked them to build him a new submersible called the Abyssal Explorer to get to the Titanic wreck. Let me be blunt. This is not a ridiculous undertaking. This is a perfectly doable trip for anyone with $20 million to spare. You see, the wreck of the Titanic lies at a depth of approximately 3,700 meters or 12,000 feet. That is quite deep, but it's not nearly as deep as the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest depression in Earth's seabed. In 2019, Triton Submarines built a vessel known as the Limiting Factor, which billionaire Victor Vescovo piloted into the Challenger Deep at a lowest depth of 35,843 feet or 10,925 meters. That's about 3 times the depth of the Titanic wreckage, and it was done 5 years ago. And guess what? He wasn't the first to go down there. That would be another billionaire, filmmaker James Cameron. He made it all the way down there and back in 2012. That's not to say that it's easy to take a vehicle to those depths. In fact, it is an engineering marvel, but it's been done several times now with 0 fatalities. I think a lot of people think that the OceanGate sub imploded because it had gone to such a deep depth, but that's not what happened. It did not try to go deeper than anyone has gone before. It imploded because the CEO cut corners and skipped basic safety standards. It was piloted by a video game controller. It was oblong instead of spherical, which, you want when you're under intense pressure. He did that in order to just get more people into the sub in order to make more money. It was doomed from the very start. Being scared to take any submersible to that depth again would be like watching a Tesla try to fling a guy into the path of a freight train and then deciding that all cars are too dangerous to ever be on the roads, which is faulty logic, but honestly, the conclusion is valid, I have to admit. But let's get back to subs, which are actually way safer than cars as a mode of transportation. I learned all of this about submersibles just a few months ago thanks to Susan Casey's excellent book, The Underworld: Journeys to the Depths of the Ocean. I cannot recommend this book enough. I actually avoid reading nonfiction in my free time because I read nonfiction all day long to make YouTube videos for you. But I couldn't resist this one because two reasons, really. One, I love the ocean. And two, I had just signed up to get certified for scuba diving. If you have the opportunity, I highly recommend you also do those two things at the same time because Casey's writing is incredible. She does a fantastic job of bringing the deep ocean to life. And those descriptions of the beauty and the importance of the deep ocean really helped carry me through those early freezing cold pool sessions I did in 45-degree Fahrenheit pools in the rain. It was, it hurt. It wasn't that fun. But hearing Casey talk about the absolute beauty of the ocean made me really excited to get through that training and get into the ocean. And once I was in there, my mind was blown. I don't expect you to pause this video and go get scuba certified and read that book. So in the meanwhile, I'll give you a quick overview of the book, my experience, and how it relates to this news. Casey points out that the deep ocean, which is defined as the water below 600 feet or 183 meters, is huge. It is the largest ecosystem on the planet. It makes up about 95% of all habitable space on Earth. And despite that, we know so very little about it. For millennia, humans thought it was just dead space, frozen solid maybe, or at least a wasteland because it's clearly too dark, too high pressure for any life to survive there, let alone to thrive. But slowly, over the course of the past few centuries, and especially the past few decades, we've ventured further and further down into the deep, discovering a shocking amount of life and energy, along with a diversity of minerals. And everything that happens down there affects us up here. The deep ocean is integral to our food systems, our climate, our knowledge of how extraterrestrial creatures might evolve without sunlight or oxygen, and our ability to respond to threats like earthquakes and tsunamis. And the reason why we have a fleet of billionaires who are contracting engineers to build them submersibles, which they then take scientists down to explore the deep ocean, the reason why we have that is in part because our government is not funding this absolutely necessary research to the point that they should. It's very similar to space travel in that regard, where we are starting to rely more and more on these private corporations to do the work that NASA and other government agencies used to be able to do for themselves. The problem is so bad that after Victor Vescovo was done exploring all the deepest parts of the ocean with the limiting factor, by the way, awesome name, he wanted to sell the submersible to a government agency, but no such agency was interested or able to purchase it and afford to run it on research missions. So it was destined to just sit in a warehouse somewhere until another billionaire stepped in to keep it running. Gabe Newell, the Valve guy, the video game guy. He also rehired the chief scientist of the ship to continue using it for research. That is fucking awesome. But also, that is kind of depressing because that's something that the United States government should have done. Because not only is the deep sea incredibly important for the future of humanity, but funding this research actually saves us money. I personally hate the economics arguments because, if it costs $20 billion to stop the Pacific Northwest from being completely wiped out by an inevitable deep sea 9.9 magnitude earthquake and ensuing tsunami, I think that would be a great deal, even if we didn't make up the money later, because money is fake and people are real. But as former chief of staff for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, Scott Rader wrote just last month, that research institution actually saves the United States billions of dollars each year just thanks to climate change-related disaster preparedness. And as acting chief scientist Craig McLean said to Congress 3 years ago, NOAA is a $12 billion agency trapped in a $5.5 billion budget. All of which brings me back to the latest Billionaire to order a new submersible to go down to the Titanic. The OceanGate implosion was almost an even bigger disaster than just 5 people losing their lives, in that it became a touchstone for lay people thinking about ocean exploration. Oh, that's just a stupid and dangerous thing billionaires do instead of ending homelessness or giving everyone health care. It's not. And frankly, I'm glad that Larry Connor and Triton Submarines are making this attempt to change that narrative. Honestly, their biggest challenge isn't making a submersible that will get down to that depth. The biggest challenge will be a public relations one. When the submersible does not implode, which it won't, will the mainstream press still care? Will they interview the scientists and engineers doing important work on these vessels? I certainly hope so, but I don't know. Which also brings me back to scuba. This is not an advertisement, I swear. I do need to shout out Aaron Potash of Original Oaktown Divers, who I contacted on a whim about the idea of gifting my husband diving lessons for Christmas. And Aaron convinced me not only to get him those lessons, but to join in myself. And let me tell you, diving in a freezing cold pool in the rain is not fun. And being in the Bay Area, I knew that we would need to do our open water course in Monterey, which I thought was less than ideal. I love Monterey, but the water, it's cold. I would rather probably get certified in a warm tropical place with, loads of visibility and cool, bright tropical fish. I surf out here, so I know how cold the water is, and there's poor visibility. And, when am I going to see a few boring rockfish? No offense, rockfish, but you can't really compete with Nemo, can you? But Aaron didn't see diving in Monterey as just a means to an end where we could eventually dive somewhere warm. He was pumped. He goes on dives all over the world, but rates Monterey as one of the best, and he goes out there whenever he can. So he actually started to get me excited about going out there. And so after a few pool sessions and a surprisingly math-heavy online course, we finally were able to suit up and walk into the ocean in Monterey. And you guys, it was fucking incredible. The sunlight filtering through towering kelp forests, starfish spawning, waving anemones, and these completely alien-looking nudibranches, adorable otters, and even the sea lions. I've seen sea lions thousands of times now, basking on piers and rocks or popping up next to me on my surfboard, but seeing one zoom past me while underwater so close, but so quickly that I was the only one in our group who saw it, it was incredible. And I genuinely think that it's important for more people to experience the ocean like that or similar to that. If you can get into the ocean and have a direct and positive experience with the life there, whether that's by scuba or snorkel or surf or submersible, maybe not luxury yacht, but any of those other ways, you will develop a connection with the ocean and you're going to care more about keeping it safe. You're going to value it. And then you're going to influence other people to value it. And that is just going to make the world a better place. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.